Hi, and welcome to our next podcast, Whisky with GreatDrams. Today we've got Racheal Vaughan-Jones from Jackson Jones whiskey brand, and she's here to tell us all about their first release, which is really exciting, really great. One of our good friends who's doing really well in the industry, and she's going to tell us all about where the inspiration came for the brand, what it means to her, and where next for it. So I hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the show, Racheal, or affectionately known as RVJ, to most people in the whiskey industry, I'd imagine. Racheal is the founder of Jackson Jones, a new blended whiskey company aiming to be all about flavour first, communication and creations. And I guess from our side, we just firstly want to know why. Why did you start it? What was that driving goal? You've been in the whiskey industry for a while and kind of moved away, and now you've come back to the promised land, so to speak.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? The why. I mean, you know, I always want to be quite careful when I talk about the reason for wanting to create Jackson Jones, because it did come from that desire to kind of rip up the invisible whiskey rule book and break from the traditions that are kind of centuries old. But that's not to say that I don't respect the traditions and kind of love what the more traditional brands are doing. But I just felt that there was a real opportunity there to focus more on flavour, focus less on where does it come from, how is it aged, how is it produced, and just focus on that all important taste experience. And yeah, so that's kind of where the idea came from. And obviously, it's one thing having an idea as a sort of brand marketing person and whiskey lover, but then making it a reality was something quite different, which is obviously when I picked up the phone to you, Greg.
Yeah, I'm glad you did as well. It's been genuinely really, really enjoyable to create this. For those who haven't seen it, by the way, that is bottle up at a proper bottle shop.
It's absolutely beautiful, the label. Really lovely.
Embossing gets me every time. I absolutely love that.
Really good.
Yeah.
And like it's just really clear, flavour driven. Yeah, really, really explains what you're going to taste.
And I was a bit nervous about kind of putting that chocolate spice big front and centre. Particularly just because I thought the word chocolate might put a few people off. But as you say, if you're going to put a stake in the ground and be all about flavour, then you've got to put that front kind of bang, loud and proud in the middle.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so Chris is the other name in the Jackson Jones. He's the Jackson to your Jones, so to speak.
He is. And it's annoying that it wouldn't have sounded better, Jones Jackson, because then my name would have been first. But sadly, we had to go with what sounded better.
I was seeing some of the early Instagram photos and videos of you putting him to work doing all the hand stamping of the JJ logo onto all the packaging and the outer carcass. Even the shipping packaging has an interesting story to it as well, being all sustainable and kind of positive, no plastics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so Flexi Hex are, I mean, absolutely incredible. They're based down in Cornwall, and they basically developed this unique kind of, as you would expect, hexagonal kind of almost like a mesh system that's entirely made out of recycled cardboard. And those guys actually initially developed that for shipping surfboards. So they were kind of down in Cornwall, living the Cornish lifestyle, wanted to be able to ship surfboards really safely and easily and sustainably, and basically developed this kind of structure. And the great thing about it as well is that it comes completely like flat packed, and then you pull it apart and it creates this amazing honeycomb structure that protects, in this case, bottles. But back then they developed it because you could have a completely flat piece almost and then open it and slip the surfboard, and a surfboard of any size really, and it would kind of cling to the surfboard. And I guess that's the whole sort of thing about, you know, entrepreneurship and business development, is they could have just stopped there and been like, great, we've got this solution for surfboards. But now they're kind of quite prevalent across lots of different drinks brands. And I believe they're moving into tech as well. They're quite funny to follow on social because they do lots of experiments where they'll like drop eggs in in the structure. That's kind of the acid test. Like how high can they go with like just an egg in the structure and drop it? And if it survives, then they've done their job.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And so from starting out, obviously we've worked together to create this one. So I've been the alchemist is the term we're now using for my role within it, helping you to create the blend. For listeners and viewers, we actually sat. It was a wonderful Friday afternoon, I think it was, where we just sat in our respective offices. RVJ down in, were you in London at the time? Or were you out?
Yeah, I was in London.
And I was up here in Cheshire, just sat at my desk, and we both had the exact same sample bottles that I had drawn from the respective casks that I felt were going to work together to create this brief of chocolate spice as a flavour profile, as a lead note. And together we created the same blends, albeit 200 odd miles apart, to understand what kind of flavors were working, the percentages of each different cask input and all of that kind of stuff. It was a really fun session, actually. It's one that I definitely, it would have been obviously a lot more fun doing it around a blending table, messing about with lots of different stuff and trying different things. But I think we managed to make the best of a COVID situation on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And well, firstly, I hope, I think the end result speaks for itself, but sort of having a steady hand to measure to make sure that we were actually measuring the same liquids to make sure that what we were tasting was the same. But yeah, it was a really fun experience. And I think, testament to your kind of palate, Greg, that when I came to you with this brief, you were able to kind of think about the library of casks and flavors that you had at your disposal and try and figure out which components would deliver that. And the fact that you kind of, although the recipe we evolved and we kind of changed it and tweaked it during that session, you had a pretty clear idea of these are the 3 component parts that are going to really deliver that taste profile.
Yeah, and it's part of the fun and genuinely the alchemy of all of this. When creating blends, it's that answering that brief is the most fun part. And you do get it wrong a few times, but ultimately you still get to turn the ones that didn't quite make it into cocktails or whatever. But when you hit on that one, and then you reminded me yesterday actually of when we it was actually pilot 2 that we thought that's the one, but then we were almost too nervous to say yes, big tick. So we ended up creating another couple after that to make sure that we were right, using same cask inputs but different proportions and all of that. I think
sometimes you've got to do that, even though you know in your heart sometimes what the right thing to do. You still have to go down the other routes just to validate that response, especially if you come to it quite quickly. Because you're like, no, this shouldn't be this easy. Like it should take a lot longer to do this.
Yeah, it's almost like proving yourself right, isn't it? You have to go through those extra steps just to prove that, okay, yeah, we have got the one here.
Yes, no, 100%. That was a great experience, and very, very proud of our first release. And thank you very, very much for sending me a bottle of it as well. That was very kind. It's going to sit proudly in the archive cage of.
And what's the significance of number 14?
My birthday.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
So from every release that we've done as GreatDrams, I've always kept number 14, number 1, and 96. So those 3 are always the ones that get kept. And then
96 got something to do with Liverpool?
It has,
yeah.
Yes.
But now you keep the number 5 and
5
10
and
for the
10.
boys.
Yes. For their birthdays as well, we always keep 5 and 10. So near enough a whole case ends up going to the bloody archive with every release. But then when they are old enough, Archie's already got, I think by the time our next release schedule comes out at the end of April, he'll have, I think, 23 bottles of whiskey in his collection. It's only,
Kirsty, what about your birthday?
I know, that's it. Well, I was more of the. We did have this, and luckily mine's the 10th too. So if Harry isn't interested, I'm going to have that collection. But when we were starting out, actually, and we were selling through things quicker than we thought we were going to, I redid the archive, and Greg had all these random numbers that he wanted to keep and all this. And I was like, no, put mine back in, put yours back in. You know, we need to keep on selling this whiskey.
Yeah.
It was more me being the...
You're ruthless.
Yeah.
Especially that very first release when I was like, I want to keep 5 cases of it.
Like, no.
And yeah, that didn't last.
So I managed to get him down to 3 numbers, and then the boys are allowed them as well.
Yeah.
And then, to be fair, there's quite a lot of sample stock that I enjoy quite a lot. So.
Especially as well. Yeah. Happy days.
So just a reminder, so Racheal, you came to Greg then with the brand and everything, and you said, give me this chocolate slice.
Yeah, it was kind of so we obviously met back in my Valentine's days, and Greg came up to Scotland we were launching the first range of single malts from Valentine's, the 15-year-olds, and so Greg and a few others kind of came up on Speyside for this sort of experience. We went to all 3 of the distilleries, Glenbergie, Milton Duff, and my absolute favourite, Glentorker's, always got a soft spot. And I've actually got here, I brought with me my Glentorker's 10 from GreatDrams bottling, what's left of it, in case we had a chance to try that one too. And we kind of bonded over, you know, obviously first and foremost the love of whiskey, but this kind of experience out on a big rib in the sort of blustery water and winds of Scotland, and then shoveling hot bowls of Cullen skink afterwards. And we just kind of, I think we always knew then that maybe one day down the line there would be something, some sort of project or collaboration. It would just be a case of, you know, when would that be and what would that be? So I sort of started to form over the last sort of couple of years this idea of what would it be like, what would a brand look like, sound like, if we were to kind of move away from tradition and just put flavour at the forefront. And it wasn't that well formed, I guess, when I spoke to Greg, but that conversation immediately, like the excitement and the kind of idea of collaborating together, just really, I think, helped propel it forward. I probably would still be sitting tinkering around with the idea now if I hadn't have picked up the phone then and just we'd sort of said, let's just bloody go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Brilliant.
It was a no-brainer from my side as well. It made total sense, especially after sharing that fear on the rib. That was, once you live through that,
you can survive anything.
A couple of hours of dolphin hunting and not seeing a single dolphin, and then almost everyone convincing themselves that they saw one. You see like the crest of a wave, it's like, oh, there's one.
Yeah.
Well done. Off to the pub. Yeah. As we're all in these full head to toe fluorescent like
fisherman's outfits.
Oh yeah.
I could barely fit in mine, obviously. And I was just like, this is random, but great fun. Great fun.
Oh, perfect.
After a night in a kilt in the Lynn House garden bar, wasn't it, the night before?
Yeah, karaoke, the works. And Greg had forgotten his white dress shirt. So when you kind of go up to Lynn House and stay, they provide you with, you like sort of send them your measurements, and they'll provide you with the formal jacket and the kilt and even like the socks and the boots that sort of tie around, and the sporran and the skin do and all the like traditional pieces. But the one thing you have to do is bring your own white dress shirt, and Greg had forgotten. So Greg kind of came down and he was wearing like a really like trendy like blue checked shirt, like tucked into this like checked kilt.
And it's not a word that I associate with Greg.
That was cold.
Compared to a white dress shirt, it was like really like pushing the boat out, and it was just this like clash, but you pulled it off so well and like just had a laugh about it, and I just thought it was brilliant.
Just own the era.
Yeah.
And drink through it.
Yeah.
It's old school. Cheers to you, by the way, for launching the brand.
Cheers.
Yeah, I think this is your first taste of it, isn't
it? Is it, Kirsty? Is this the first time you're trying it? That's so exciting.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It always has on the nose that lovely buttery character,
Vanilla.
and the spicy, that spicy vanilla kind of note comes through. Now, we deliberately poured these early at the beginning just so that I was talking with the on the launch Zoom last night for Jackson Jones that leaving it in the glass longer actually enables that chocolate note to build through and actually grow more.
Really creamy.
Mm-hmm.
And actually today there's a sort of new, mingled in with that buttery note, there's like a real light, gentle hint of a sort of banana-y note that I haven't had before. Maybe it's more like sort of banoffee, kind of rich, buttery banoffee note. But that's the thing that I love about it, is it changes like every time you taste it, you find something new and it develops and evolves.
I'm kind of getting that Easter egg chocolate. You know, it's just like really milky. Yeah.
That chocolate I've said I'm not going to eat for 2 months.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Very clever of you to get it in whiskey then instead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it's delicious. What ABV is it?
Actually, it's a 50.2. I don't think you'd get that.
No, I didn't expect you to say that.
It should, yeah. It's, everyone who tried it on the launch Zoom when we were creating it, the kind of strength we used at the cask strength samples, and the idea was to take it down to as close to 46 as would work. But then actually we loved it so much of this ABV that it made sense just to roll with it, and not kind of take it down any further. Because then also for people who are drinking it, they have then a bigger option to be able to add water if they want to. But for us, it just worked. That smoothness, that creaminess, the big flavor profile, that beautiful spice, and the chocolate waves that just come through. It just worked at 50.2, so we rolled with it.
I couldn't imagine adding water to that, actually.
No, I probably wouldn't.
I mean, yeah, for me, it definitely doesn't need it. And I guess one thing to say about the brand as well is that we very much are all about you drink it exactly how you want to drink it. So there are no rules. If you want to splash water in there, if you want to put a load of ice in there, if you want to mix it in a cocktail, I'd love if anyone could come up with a really cool cocktail that would really hero the liquid. That would be amazing. But drink it however you want. But for me, I was really surprised that at 50.2, it just didn't need anything, because personally, generally my taste as I've gotten older, I tend to like a bit of a splash of a little drop of water in there if it's over kind of 46-48%. But yeah, I mean, we sort of tasted it and we were like, God, we can't do anything to that. We've got to leave it.
I like to do that as well, just to see how it changes, because sometimes it changes for the better and sometimes it really doesn't. So it's always good to try it both ways. But no, that's I wouldn't have expected that to be such high ABV.
No, likewise. Happy days. And so what's next, Racheal? You were texting me on the sly last night with some ideas of potential flavour profiles. We won't obviously say them out loud, but what do you want to do with the next couple of releases?
So I want batch 2 to be the complete opposite of batch 1, and I'll kind of say that and leave it there to sort of linger and people to figure out what that might be. But I quite like the idea of sort of evolving through the seasons as well. I guess chocolate spice, it's quite rich and buttery and warming. That for me feels more of a, this time of year when this, it's still quite crisp and chilly and you want that big comforting warm hug almost of a chocolate spice whiskey. So potentially moving into the summertime, the opposite of that, what would that taste like? What would the experience be? When would you want to drink that? But very much see it as kind of creating every single batch to be pretty unique. So, down the line, I might be throwing some absolute curveballs Greg's way.
I'll see what I can do. Although I chose the casks, it very much was the two of us creating the blend. That was the fun part for me as well, because I don't really get to do that when we create the blends for our range. We don't really do that many anyway, but whenever we do, I'll start off doing the pilots, then you'll come in and kind of say yes, no, and then next round and whatever. Whereas actually doing it, the two of us going through it in that one session, had really good fun.
And the conversations we were having around like finish and things, because there was one iteration where you did get this crazy finish that, I mean, this whiskey's got a beautiful finish, but there was one kind of combination of the components that had this like tailing long going on and on and on and on finish, and we both kind of said, you know, is that something that we really need or want from this specific whiskey? Should we give up a little bit of that massive long tail in order to get this big, rich, round butteriness in kind of the heart of the blend? And it was really nice to have those kind of conversations around what both of our visions were for creating this, and then kind of how to make it a reality.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's good fun.
I had to go back then and try get that buttery note again you were just talking about.
I wasn't going to drink today. I'm going to have a re-pour of that, that's for sure.
That's the problem with it, though. It's so Moorish. It really is. And obviously, you know, bias aside, I do find that this is one that you want to just keep going back to. Like, you could happily just sit, and I'm sure we could sit here and talk for hours and just casually, like, you know, half a bottle would be gone in no time.
Well, one of the folks who did buy a bottle, we will not name him, but last night he was on the launch Zoom, and he texted me at 3:14 this morning saying that he has very, very little left of the bottle.
And what is the plan? Where are you stocked now, or where can people buy it?
So we are fully direct to consumer. So we've kind of got a ledger system on the website, so people can sign up to the ledger to be able to purchase a bottle. And the idea is that the people that are on the ledger going forward in the future will have kind of priority access to buy future batches. So all entirely online, but we have got one bottle which will be going to the Soho Whisky Club, which will be the only place offline that will have kind of a bottle. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting a few friends in there and drinking it in a kind of whiskey bar environment. I imagine that will be another sort of like pinch me moment in terms of making something a reality.
Yeah. Do you know, two of the best kind of experiences through this, when any bottle sells, there's a little happy dance, sure, but when you walk into, so GreatDrams is similar, it's all direct through us currently, but it is in, I think, 5 bars, which are effectively my favourite bars. So our local booze are here, so whenever we're in, we know that we can just see a couple of the bottles there, happy days. And then also like Black Rock and all of that. And just wait until someone does actually buy a measure from that bottle in the Soho Whisky Club, and then they tag you in the photo of it on Instagram. That's one of those like, nice one.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Someone yesterday, and she asked me what I did, and I was like, you know, we're independent whiskey bottlers, and she was like, oh, what's the name of your brand? And I said it, and she was like, oh my gosh, that's the brand that I bought for my dad for Christmas.
Really?
And yeah, and she was like, and he loved it, and I think he's gone on to buy more things and all this. And I was like, it was just a real bizarre conversation, because we are, you know, really small. I didn't expect that to come from her, and it was like, yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, because they don't always expect it, like being female, right? Still in the whiskey industry.
Yeah.
But you've been flying the female whiskey flag for bloody years.
I've been dipping in and out though, but trying to balance family life with being in the industry as well. So I'm really in like our brand and stuff. But I always say to people, my exposure within the industry, that's all Greg's side of it, because he can be the consistent, whereas I really can't be with, you know, 2 young boys. Well, not that I can't be. I could if I really wanted to be, but we want to be able to have a family life too. So yes, it has been years now. Now you've said it, but yeah, quietly, I think, rather than
in the background.
Yeah, you know, shifting around boxes and things like that, and packing up orders.
Yeah.
Well, doing scores of events.
Yeah, gosh, I'm really excited to get back out again and start talking to people about whiskey. So what I really enjoy about doing these podcasts is that we do get to talk to people about whiskey. I know you get to do it regularly anyway, but I don't. So it's really nice to feel part of the industry And now getting out again this weekend to meet people, it'd be good.
Is that going to be the first event? Have you got one this weekend?
Yeah,
I'm in Wilmslow and Sale.
Yeah.
And then our brand ambassador Craig is in Chorlton and
Hague, but I'm going to do Sale on Sunday.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, happy days.
The Northwest
Everyone's
going
gonna
to
go,
whiskey again.
Mhm.
everyone's going to go bananas. I can feel it already.
Hope so.
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's the way we've stocked up. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Filling all the big, bottle boxes this morning, and they're very heavy.
Yeah.
I hope they're a lot lighter at the end of each day this weekend.
People are just ready to do something different, aren't they?
Mm.
So hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Rich. It's been really fun to rekindle what we were doing when creating the whiskey, but also to talk about you and your brand, as well as trying it together, the final product, because I know that you only cracked the production bottle last night. So
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
No
Our
problem.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. And thanks again to Racheal. We really enjoyed our chat there. And as she said, get onto the website and you can get your bottle. It's a really limited run, only 200 bottles.
205.
205. Well, we've already had one of them here, so nearer to 200 bottles. So do be quick and support her. It's a really small business, just like us, really, where we started from. On that, so our business, a little bit of an update. We are back on the road this weekend. Really excited that Boris hasn't changed any of the plans and that all the numbers are going in the right direction. So we will be in and around the Northwest at different makers markets and artisan markets. Check on the website for our updated list. And if you are making a special journey, do just pop us a Facebook message or Instagram or something just to double check we're definitely there. And we're really, really excited to get out to see you. We'll be serving samples, so if you haven't been to any of our virtual tastings, now's the time to come and taste all of our new releases, because they haven't been to any of the events that we've done since it's been such a long time.
Yeah, 4 months now since we last did one of these bad boys. So very much looking forward to getting there in a totally COVID secure way.
That's what I was going to say. So we will obviously be following all the COVID guidance. We will be wearing masks and visors. There'll be lots of hand sanitisation stations for you to come. If there is a queue, please just join the queue. We will get to you and offer you the samples. But if we could just all maintain our distance and follow the rules, then we can keep these events going.
Indeed.
Great.
And elsewhere, we're also still doing our private virtual tastings. So if you wanted to host one with you and your friends, family, whiskey club, social club, colleagues, prospective clients, whatever the hell it is, just get in touch. Greg at GreatDrams.com. And we'll be able to go through the options and all that kind of fun stuff as well. We'll be hosting those going forward, so they're not going to end anytime soon. So do get in touch. We're taking bookings already for May, June, July and August. So yeah, we've got no plans to stop doing those. And then finally, one piece of news which came into Kirsty's inbox today. We got a silver medal in the London Spirits competition for our Islay single cask, single malt Scotch whisky release of only 243 bottles, and we were super chuffed with that.
So happy. I don't know if any of you have seen the blog post that I wrote about this, but this whisky has really been like a real marker in the ground for us, and really, I know I use the word exciting quite a lot, but I was really excited by it, and it's been so well received. Particularly by myself, I've drank quite a few.
You're leading that sellout, aren't you?
Yeah. Racheal before was asking about making sure that I keep a bottle, and this one I definitely will be keeping a stash. We won't be selling as many of these ones.
Yeah, so it's even more limited edition now that
Exactly.
Kirsty's got her mitts on it.
Yeah, and now it's award winning, so
Happy days.
yeah, the website will be going crazy this afternoon once we announce that. So
Marvellous.
let us know if you would like us to keep your bottle.
Cheers, and do keep your questions coming in the next podcast. We will go through some of your questions and answer them in as much detail as we feasibly can. So do just either email them in or put them in the comments, whatever you like, absolutely fine. And if you're enjoying the podcast as well, please do feel free to leave a review on whichever platform, be it Spotify, iTunes, podcasts, etc. because that helps other people discover some fun whiskey chat, and who knows, it may help everyone. So thanks, and until next time, cheers.